Hi everyone, welcome back to another session of LWC. Today we are going to learn how to pass parameters from LWC to Apex controller methods. By this, what I mean is that there are times when you are working on an LWC component and you would need to write an Apex controller, an Apex method in order to get data from the Salesforce database, right? And let's say if that fetching the data from the Salesforce database is dependent on some value which is being entered by the user on the LWC component. It could be any value, right? So in such cases, how would you actually receive that value and pass that value to the Apex controller method so then you can use that dynamic value in order to fetch any kind of data from your Salesforce database. Okay, so I have listed down a scenario for you over here. So here is, as you can see, that I want to display account details, as in I want to display at least 10 accounts from my Salesforce database. And I want to display these 4 fields: account name, phone, type, and total opportunity amount. Okay, and once I display these accounts on the LWC component, what I want to do is I have a search box over here. So if I enter any text, let's say over here, right? So it should search the data by that text from the account name. Okay, so for example, in this one, if the way I've listed here, if I type in test, right, then everything will get populated. Actually, you will not be able to identify if the search is working or not. But in your Salesforce org, you will have account names with different names populated, right? So the moment you will type at least 3 characters, it will start searching the accounts with those 3 characters wherever it matches. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. I would move on to my Visual Studio Code. So the first thing that we would be doing is that we will create an LWC component. We would first try to display 10 accounts. Okay, and in that 10 accounts, I would want to display these 4 values of each account. Once we are done with that, we will go ahead and implement the search. All right, so I will move to the VS Code. Let's go ahead and create a LWC component. Pass parameter demo. Okay, so here I have, not sure why this file got created, so I'll just remove it. So I have my component created over here. Okay, so what I'll do is I will start with the okay, let's just get started with the JS. Okay, so the first thing that you would have to identify is that what are the columns that you want to display. Okay, but before we start writing the JS file, let's just go ahead and write an Apex method, because we would want to fetch 10 records from the account object, right? So that is why I would have to create an Apex class, and then I would have to write an Apex method where I will be querying those account records, and then I will call that method into my JS file. So let's just go ahead and create a new class. So I have my class here. I'll just go ahead and just write a method. And I would be using wire service. So I am going to use Aura enabled. If you have watched other videos, you would know that why I am including Aura enabled. Let's make it as cacheable true. So here I will just take a list of account, and basically I would be returning the list of accounts from this method. So I'm just going to, let me first write it, then you'll understand better. If you already know how, if you are already familiar with Apex classes and how to write methods and what is a return type, then you would understand this easily. If not, then I would suggest you to first read about that and then only watch this video. Otherwise, I will try to explain each and everything, but you might miss few of the basic details. So if I go back to the presentation, I am just trying to see what are the fields that we actually require. So I want account name, phone, type, and total opportunity amount. So account name, I already know what is the API name of the field, name, and then phone is the standard phone field. The API name is exactly as it is. The next one is type. Type is also standard field and the API name is type. And then I have total opportunity amount, which is a custom field. So I would have to go to the org and see what is the name of the custom field. So this is the API name of the custom field. From account, and I only want to fetch 10 accounts, any 10 random accounts. So I'm just putting a limit as 10. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to return this list of account from this method so that when I call this method, I would get the list of accounts. Okay. So if I want to return the list of accounts, then the return type should be list of accounts and not void. Okay. And here I can type it as return list account, or you can even make it shorter. What all you have to do is you have to just remove this and type return, and you can just remove this line. Okay. So this is my Apex class, and let me deploy this. Import, and then you can give it a name. I'm giving it as list account. And then we have to write it something like this. @ Salesforce Apex. And then you have to give the class name dot method name. Okay. So class name is account search class dot method name is search account. So this is my method name. Okay. What's wrong over here? Okay, we need to include this, right? Yeah, this is fine now. So I have imported the method here. Now what I have to do is I can use wire method and fetch the details from this particular method that I have written in the class. But before that, I want to prepare the columns that I want to display on the HTML, right? So in order to define the columns, because we are going to use LWC data table, and LWC data table expects column as one of the attributes. Okay, so I have to define columns over here. So we can keep it as constant. So I'm just gonna define the columns, and then we can name it as columns. And this is the syntax for columns. Okay, so here the first thing that I would be giving is label. Label is something that you can give the way you want. I mean, you can define the name. So here the API name is not required. It is just the display name, whatever you want to give. I'm giving it as account name. All right. And then I have to give the field name. Field name would be the API name of the field. Okay. Field name. This should be the API name of the field. And the API name for account name is nothing but name. Okay. So this is one column, and if you see, we had 4 columns, right? Phone, type, and total opportunity amount. So let me just copy this. So account name, phone, and then the API name of phone is also phone, and type, and total opportunity amount. And the API name was, let's just go back and check. I think it is already open. So this is the API name. And just to cross check, let me check for name, phone, and type. So name was correct. The way we have written phone's API name is also this, and then type. This is correct too. Okay, so our columns are done. Now what we have to do is we have to basically use, either we can use imperative method or we can use wire method. All right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the wire method, and then I would receive the data from the wire method and I will send it to the HTML in order to display it on the LWC data table. Okay, so this is how you can use wire method. I'm not going to explain each and everything about wire method. I believe that you would already know about it. If not, you can watch other videos which I have done, especially on wire method. So here is the wire method, and this, the variable name that you have given here, like on which you're receiving the data, that is what you have to define here. And then here you can simply give it something as wired accounts or something like this. Okay. Now what do we have to do? We have to basically collect the data, right? We have to collect the data, and also we have just defined a columns value over here, right? We have to declare another variable and basically assign this columns value to that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, otherwise your HTML will not be able to find the columns if you don't do this. You have to assign a variable and then you have to assign the columns to it, so that, like, you know, it will be able to identify all the columns that you want to display. Okay. So now if you see, if you guys remember, then whatever the response that we get, right, when we actually call the wire method, that response always has error and data. All right. So error and data, we always have to, like, you know, if you want to actually display, let's say if there is no record, right, if there is no record returned from the table or the Apex method, then what do you want to display on the table? Let's say you want to display no records found, right? So that is nothing but you can display that kind of message in the error part if let's say there is no data. But if there is any data, right, if it is not empty, if data is not empty, then what you can do is you can basically receive the data. And so all in all, what I want to say is that you can separate data and error from the response, and accordingly you can display it on your HTML. Okay. And this is how you would be able to do it. Error, data, and if you have something in data, okay, so here I'll take another two variables in order to store my data, and you can say, like, you know, my error. So what will I do is I will take something as accounts, right, and I will also take something as error. Okay, so if there is any data, let's just make some space over here. So to this account value, if there is any data, then I want to transfer the data to this value, accounts. All right. And if there is any error, then what I want to do is okay. All right. So we have prepared the columns. We have assigned the columns to this column variable, which we can use on the HTML file. And then I have declared another two properties, accounts and error. So if there is any data in the response, then I am storing the data in the accounts property. And if there is any error, then I'm storing the data error into the error property. All right. Now let's go back to the HTML file and display it on the table. I'm just making a lightning card just to beautify this a little bit. And then inside this, I'm going to define my lightning data table. Okay. So lightning data table. And here, let me close this first. Okay, 1 second, let me, okay. All right, so here, this lightning data table expects some attributes, okay? So the first one is the key field. Key field is required, let's say, like, when you are actually like displaying data, and if there's any update on the data, it would need the key field, right, in order to show you the updated value. Otherwise, it won't be able to identify. So I'll give the ID over here, and then we have to give the data. And where have we kept the data? We have kept the data in accounts, right? So we can simply write here accounts. And then we have the third thing that I had already told you was columns. Okay. And where do we have the columns? We have the columns under columns, right? That is the variable where we have kept the columns. Correct. So this is the data table. I'm not putting the condition if there's any data or if there's any error, then what do you want to display? I know that I have accounts, so I'm not spending time over there. So let's just go ahead and deploy this, and let's see if the data is getting displayed or not. And let me copy the XML file from somewhere. Let's deploy this. This is deployed. Now let's go ahead and include this on any of the record pages, or let's just do one thing. Let's just go and create an app. Not like this. From here, we have to go app manager. Or let's just include it on the home page. All right. Because I believe I don't have anything on the home page. And okay, it was already open. I'm just going to remove all of the things that I have on the home page, and I'll include the component that we just created. So and the component that we created, its name is pass parameter demo. Pass parameter demo, and let's just keep it here. All right. I believe there's something wrong, but let's just go back and okay, I can check it from here. So home page. And we are only getting the table structure and we are not getting the data. So let's just go back to the code and check what went wrong. So these are the three attributes: accounts, columns, lighting data table, card. Let's go to the JS label. Yeah, the spelling is wrong here. Field name. I have written file name, which should be field name and not file name. So this could be the reason. Let me deploy this and try again. Okay, let's go back and refresh. As I made changes on the JS, I will just refresh it. Okay, so here you can see that it fetched the like 10 accounts from the available accounts that I have in my org, and it is displaying the data: name, phone, type, and total opportunity. Wherever it is blank, that means that in these particular records, those values are not populated. So for example, in this account record, there is no phone number or there is no total opportunity amount. And similarly for these data, there is nothing which is available on these values. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to create another search box over here. If I go back to the PPT here, I want to create a search box, and the moment I type in something, it should be displaying the results as per the search value that I would be entering. Okay, so let's go back to the HTML, and first we'll go ahead and create the search bar. And also let's provide a title to this. Now I would be creating a search bar. So for search bar, I want the lightning input field, lightning input, and the type of the lightning input, I would be giving it as search because I want that lens icon to be displayed. All right. So search. And then what else do we have to give? We have to give the label, right? Label, and label would be, we can give it something as value. Sorry, enter value. Enter search value. Okay, and then here what I have to do is I have to receive the value. Okay, so value, and in the value I am just giving a name. Okay, search key. And then on the change of this particular input box, right, what do I want to do on the change event? So by on change event, I mean that, so similarly there are other types of events, right? For example, you would have seen there is on click event for a button, right? Similarly, there's an on change event for lightning input, right? So that every time you are clicking that input and typing in something, that means a change is occurring, right? So we have something such as on change. Okay, so in on change event, what I would be doing is I would call a method. Okay, and handle on change, and this method we would have to implement in our JS file. So sorry. Okay, so we have defined the input box, we have label, we have value, and on change event. Okay, so now let's go to the HTML file, and sorry, the JS file, and we would have to, so in this method I would be receiving the event because I want to take the value that the user would be entering from the UI, right? So here, and let's define another keyword over here, search key, and I am gonna, by default I'm gonna keep it as blank. So here in this particular attribute, I want to receive whatever the value has been entered into the input box. Okay, and that I can receive using the event. Okay, so event dot target dot value, I believe it is event dot target dot value. Okay, so now I have the search key, right? So whatever the user would be entering into this input box, I have the search key for that, right? This will actually give me the value that the user would be typing in over here, like the search box that we have just created. Okay, so now what do I want to do? I want to pass this particular search key, right? Whatever the user has entered, to this method, so that when I'm actually querying the accounts from the backend, I can provide this search key so that it will only fetch me the records wherever this search key value is matching, right? So for that, what you have to do is you have to pass a parameter to this particular method. And in order to pass the parameter, what would you do is, so this is my list of accounts, right? Here you have to provide the search key. So and if I go, so as we are passing a parameter to the method, right? So the method should be, I mean, here it should be receiving a parameter, correct? And the search key would be nothing but string. So let's just name it as search key itself. Okay. And let's go back to the JS, and you have to pass it with a $sign. So this is how you pass the parameter. Okay. And this method, right? This method, I am receiving this particular parameter, search key. Okay. And once I get this, what I have to do is I have to pass this search key over here. So for example, if I'm writing this query from account, and here I will be putting a condition where name like this search key, right? That is the kind of SOQL that you use in order to identify the, like, the similar result, right? Whatever has been entered, if you want to use a like operator. Okay. So now the search key, you cannot basically in this kind of SOQL, you cannot directly type in something as like and then pass the search key. So you have to prepare the search key as a string and then you can pass it over here. Okay. So string, search val, and so I would, if you haven't understood, let me just write it and I would tell you that, like, how, why I'm doing this. So percentage, and let me add one more. And here I would be, in between, I would be adding my search key. So let's say if you had to write this search key directly over here, so what I would have done, where name like search key. But this would not work. This query, this SOQL query would not work. So that is why what I've done is I have prepared a search val, okay, in order to pass it in the like operator. Okay. And also because the way we actually pass the like operator in a SOQL is not like this. Like, if you are using a dynamic value, you would have to provide a colon and then, like, you have to write the, like, give the dynamic uh, search criteria, whatever you're passing. So such as, like, I mean, if I would have to do this. Okay. I would have to do this, but this particular symbol will not work with anything like this. So that is why I have to prepare the search well separately, and then I would be passing this over here. So now as I have it, so as I said, right, this will not work. So here, as I've already created this over here, I will just pass it like this. Okay, so this will basically give me, now this will form a query such as select ID, name, phone, type, total opportunity amount from account, where name like this, right? Percentage, and then whatever the search key that the user has entered, and then percentage. Okay, so anything before that search key or anything after that. So it will be a flexible search key. Okay, it will be a flexible search. So let me deploy this. Okay, missing return statement. Why? Okay, so this is, okay, saying that this expression cannot be a statement. I think this is what we are missing. All right, so, okay, so now I think we have done everything. We have created an input box, whatever the values that we are getting from the user, we are receiving that value, and then we are passing that value as a parameter to the method. Okay, to the method, and in the method we are receiving that parameter and we are querying as per the parameter. Okay, so now let's just go and try. So let me clear the cache. So here, if we enter the value, let's say, let me type in edge. So you can see the search is working, right? University. Okay, so whatever the value I am entering here, right? In the component, that value, we are actually passing that value to the Apex method. All right. This is the value that we are passing to the Apex method. And in the Apex method, we are receiving that value and then providing that in the query. That is how we are getting the search results back. Okay. So this is how you can pass parameters from LWC component to your Apex method. I hope at least you would have got an idea how to pass the parameter. And as far as Apex class is concerned, I would say that if you did not understand any of it, you should check how to write SOQL queries and what is a method in Apex class and how to write a method. So that's all for this session. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.